Crime has seen communities, as I was just saying, taking the law into their own hands. Many people are complaining about a lack of police action, while others are accusing officers of taking bribes from criminals. But what can be done then to prevent an escalation in vigilantism? And are our law enforcement agencies doing enough to fight crime? Let's take this up with Lizette Lancaster. She is the manager of Crime and Justice Information, that hub with the Institute for Security Studies, joining us by Zoom this afternoon. Lizette, good to see you. So we've been hearing today from a lot of communities that the escalation in violence and so-called mob justice is largely due to a lack of police action. Is that what you have found in the research space?
Absolutely. We have seen quite in-depth reports such as the Khayelitsha Commission report, referring specifically to how the police is failing these communities living in high crime areas that are extremely, urbanized often and have got very underserviced communities as it is. And the police are just not seen there.
Why is it that officers are not willing to respond, or are they simply overwhelmed?
I think it becomes both. Many of these police stations that these areas are located in have been on the radar as high crime areas for decades, and police resources are allocated to them. But the problem is that there's such an influx of people into these areas. They are highly dense and shifting informal settlements. And what you have is that the police are simply just incapable of policing these to the standards that they need to be policed. And that on top of the challenges that the police already face in terms of leadership, command and control, corruption, and inefficiencies as it is.
And one of the people Ronald Masinda interviewed in Cape Town today was telling him that, look, it's one thing to say that police stations are overwhelmed, to say that, look, there's an escalation in the actual attacks by criminals, but you have cases where officers are colluding with the criminals or helping them to essentially bury the case.
Exactly, and this is where the concern comes in. When we look at what drives many of these attacks by mobs would be, consistent robberies in an area over time, for instance. And we see that these crimes are just not investigated and people are not brought to book. Often there are those allegations of corruption. And the truth is also that it's not about the number of police, but it's about how the operations are conducted. What is the crime intelligence behind it? What are the network interruptions that are done? Are the different divisions working together in the police? And what we are seeing is just this almost flatlining of crime intelligence, and then you have the fact that ordinary patrol people or such just turn a blind eye and often do get bribed to turn the other, to look away. And that's very problematic because there's no discipline for these members at a police station.
What then is the solution? What do we need to see happening differently? Because police say they're doing their best to fight this.
It's not about the numbers. It's about working smarter. It's about making sure that members are brought to book that are implicated, that cases are properly investigated, that the crime intelligence people at the station actually do decent analysis of the crime hotspots and the areas, where they happen, when they happen, and how they happen, and then actually track and people, witnesses, and victims, and take their cases seriously. But furthermore, it's about command and control at the stations. We are not seeing ineffective and corrupt police members brought to book.
The other issue with vigilantism, mob justice, as some have called it, is that it then takes ordinary members of society who otherwise would not be criminals, become either accessories to a crime or killers themselves. And I'm wondering how easy or difficult is it for a community to come out of that once it's at risk of a pattern of killing and attacking suspected criminals, once that begins to take hold?
The moment you start having ordinary citizens becoming vigilantes and you see lawlessness thrive, of even more concern is the fact that people are witnessing this, very often children, who then see violence as a normal way to deal with stress and conflict. And so that spills over into homes and into family relationships, into friendships. And that is the problem, where violence seems to thrive without any punishment. You just see it grow. It's like a virus. It's like a pandemic.
Lizette, Lancaster, good to get your views to this afternoon. Thank you so much for being on ENCA. Lizette is manager of the Crime and Justice Information Hub with the Institute for Security Studies.